Hello and welcome to Freedom News, the news you can use to help keep Canada free. On January 7th, the Post-Millennial reported that a professor at the University of Calgary tweeted about failing students if they cited Professor Jordan Peterson. Ted McCoy, chair of the Law and Society program at the UoC, apologized shortly after his tweet went viral, asserting that the flippant comment was a quote-unquote joke, and insisting that he did take seriously students' right to free expression. In wake of the social media fallout, sources from within the University of Calgary have come forward to the Post-Millennial to assert that McCoy's comments were anything but a joke. The identities of those who spoke out are being protected for their safety due to their proximity to McCoy. Quote, "He absolutely was not kidding. He absolutely does penalize students for holding divergent views," end quote, said one source, a former professor at University of Calgary and current professor at another institution. Quote, "He literally tells students to not read Quillette," end quote, the source revealed, drawing from discussions had with McCoy's students. The source goes on to say, "He walked into class and expressed how disappointed he was in the amount of conservative ideas being expressed." The source noted that students often came to her with complaints about McCoy's in-class political proselytizing, fearing poor grades because of their ideological differences. The source goes on to say, "Students have just learned to shut up and parrot whatever he wants to hear." The source revealed that McCoy was the only professor teaching a mandatory capstone exit course required for some students' successful degree completion in the Law and Society program. Being the coordinator for the Law and Society program, McCoy is also responsible for hiring new faculty members, noting that a great deal of faculty have abruptly ceased teaching in the program. The source claimed that all of the new hires have been people who share McCoy's ideological perspective and have no qualifications whatsoever to teach law and society. A student who took McCoy's class corroborated the faculty member's comments. "I have actually told other students not to enroll in the Law and Society program because of McCoy," he said, noting a number of distressing interactions with his former professor. The first day of class, within the first 15 minutes, he explicitly states, "The goal of this course is to radicalize you. Before you leave university, I want to radicalize you." The former student, who identifies as left-wing politically, says McCoy immediately introduced the class to a bizarre coding system by which participation was noted for grades. McCoy told students that he will make a mark beside your name when you contribute to the class discussion. He told us he has a symbol system for if a student made an insightful comment, all the way to what you said was batshit crazy. The former student says the class was immediately politicized, with students fearing to vocalize their opinions if it contradicted McCoy's ideological perspective. The former student also revealed that McCoy assigned his own writings as well as books written by his PhD supervisor as mandatory readings for the class, leaving students fearful to express criticism. When one student did, noting the lack of objectivity in one of the readings, McCoy berated him. Recalling another class, the former student says that McCoy blasted Jordan Peterson to the class. He came into class with his head in his hands and looked upset. He was shaking his head and sighing. When a student asked what was bothering the professor, McCoy went on to complain about Jordan Peterson. He said he had been reading a lot of Jordan Peterson and said he cannot believe how Peterson thinks he knows everything. After a student defended Peterson, McCoy reportedly went on a tangent. He said Peterson is basically espousing hate speech and he ought to be deplatformed in the strongest sense, the former student said. I was distressed that a professor would take such an obvious political stance in his teaching, the former student said, going to reveal he felt unsafe with McCoy's control over his grade because of this student's concerns about entering graduate school. He said he learned to stop challenging McCoy. I basically kowtowed in my papers. I would just tell him what he wanted to hear. Going on to note that conservative students never spoke in class out of fear of angering McCoy. Since graduating, the former student says his friends who have entered McCoy's class have texted him for help navigating the professor's extreme ideology. McCoy was unequivocally one of the worst professors I've ever had, and it was because the class was more about politics than it was critical thinking. On January 9th, McCoy tweeted and quickly deleted a post suggesting he had only apologized at the advice of the administration. The tweet reads as follows: I heard it rumored that yesterday the administration unleashed upon me a kind of verbal whoop-ass, for which my ambiguous initial statement be converted to a joke, and I'd like to clarify that this is absolutely correct. The post-millennial has reached out to Dr. Ted McCoy, the Law and Society Program and Sociology Department head Dr. Fiona Nelson at the University of Calgary, but have not received a response by the time of publication. This is the kind of crap that is in our universities, and of all universities, University of Calgary, it's got to be the most bluest city in the most bluest province of Canada. Like, come on. You don't get much more conservative than Calgary. But our universities have become indoctrination zones where monsters like this are free to run amok. This is completely insane. From Spencer Fernando regarding the leadership race for the Conservative Party, we have this story. The press reports Rona Ambrose will not run for Conservative leadership. Yay! I'm going to read more from the story. I'm simply saying I'm glad that she's not running. She'd be horrible. They cite several conservative sources. According to a new report by La Presse, former Conservative Deputy Leader Rona Ambrose, and of course former intern leader before Andrew Scheer was elected, will not be running for the leadership of the Conservative Party. Thank God. Here's a translation of a relevant section of the La Presse report. Despite everything, she prefers not to return to politics on the federal scene. There are persistent rumors that Prime Minister Justin Trudeau is juggling the idea of appointing her to the position of Canadian ambassador to Washington, one of the most important posts in Canadian diplomacy. All I have to say is if Trudeau is considering appointing her as to an ambassador, someone that he'd be willing to appoint to any position is someone we obviously do not want leading the Conservative Party. So thank goodness she's not running. Also, this is the same person who went and sided with Trudeau over NAFTA renegotiations and stabbed Scheer in the back concerning his refusal to march in Pride Parade, saying she herself easily would. It's like, you stay the heck out of it, woman. Story goes on. Even though her name has been around for a few weeks, she has made no calls to start an organization. She will not be a candidate. She should confirm her intentions in the coming days, said a Conservative source familiar with Miss Ambrose's intentions on Tuesday. Of course, nothing can be certain until Ambrose makes her intentions clear herself. That said, if this is true, it will have a huge impact on the race. As being Spencer Fernando recently reported, the National Citizens Coalition conducted the largest Conservative Party leadership race poll of grassroots Canadian Conservatives, and the results had Ambrose in second place with 31%. She trailed Pierre Poilievre, who had 46%. As a result, if Ambrose isn't in the race, Poilievre's position could become even stronger. Of course, time will tell. I, for one, as I've made already clear, of course support Pierre Poilievre, who is running in the leadership race, and I strongly hope that he does indeed win and that this will boost his numbers. I strongly believe, given his knowledge of how government works, his strong ability to communicate, his take no crap attitude from liberals and the NDP and the leftist mainstream media and such, this is the guy we want leading our party. He is truly conservative. He's against the carbon tax. He's in favor of pipelines. He's a diehard fiscal conservative. And he can please, in all reality, people on both sides of the social spectrum. He's a moderate. Which, in all reality, those social issues shouldn't be an issue for government. It's up for society. Hence, the connection between social and society. No place for government in the first place. Just get out of society's way and let groups like the church and whatnot deal with this and try and get society back on track. Government just helps keep the peace. That's all they're there for. So, anywho. So, hopefully this is good. This seems like good news. Ron Ambrose is not running. Of course, we got Jean Charest still possibly considering running, which would be a horrible idea. I read in another article that, of course, Stephen Harper is, just silently behind the scenes and supportive of a lot of the candidates, but one candidate he is most definitely not supportive of is, interesting enough, Jean Charest. That should speak volumes to just how badly Jean Charest would be for this party and, of course, this country. And the guy is helping Huawei negotiating, becoming involved in our 5G network and dealing with this arrest on of Ming. So he's basically aiding them in infiltrating our national security. We don't need this guy leading us or definitely becoming our prime minister. Jean Charest is most definitely not the answer. Any so-called conservative who leans to the left, like Charest and Michael Chong and Ambrose does, has no business leading this party. Again, try and keep up to date with more videos and such. Fairly busy, a lot of stuff going on with life and whatnot, but like I said, I'll just stay tuned and I'll have them as I can get them. Thank you for watching. Like if you like, share, or comment, and if you can, please click the link below to make a donation. And